If you're awake, living in reality, you can clearly see the world moving in one certain direction. It seems that this direction is taking people straight towards the end of a cliff. The world is moving methodically in fulfillment of Bible prophecy. For those of us awake, we know with a surety that we want no parts of what is coming with this world. We want to be covered under the arms of the Most High and live waiting for His kingdom. As events happen and the world gets closer to the point of no return, believers need to be focused on hearing from the Most High and being led by His Holy Spirit. We were given a gift that allows Father to dwell within us and lead us and guide us. This gift is the ultimate gift because it allows us to move in confidence and let our Father take the reins of our life and lead us to His promises for us. It is a wonderful gift. But the problem is that our adversary knows this. He knows how wonderful this gift is, and he has been working very hard over the decades and centuries to stop us from hearing our Father's voice and being led by Him. Many of us want to be led by the Most High. We want to live in His presence and give Him the reins and let Him lead us through the darkness. But the unfortunate truth is that we oftentimes get in the way of this. There is something that many of us do that is so wrong, and it is something that needs a lot of attention. It is something that is caused by a few different reasons, and the reasons are the important issues that need to be addressed, along with the wrong behavior that it causes. Many of us love Yah and want to be led by Him, but we do not trust in Him enough to let Him lead us. We want Him to guide us and protect us, but we have set so many boundaries and conditions on Him that we do not allow Him to effectively work in our life. It's like, I want God in my life, but first I need Him to do this for me. Or, I need the road I take to be very comfortable. Or, I feel Him taking me this way, but I don't want to really go that way, so I'm waiting for new direction. It's thoughts like this, and believe me, there are many more. It's because while we want Him to lead us, we don't want to surrender control. We want control while we are saying we will let Him lead and we will follow. But that is a complete contradiction, and it is hypocrisy. And the cause of it is diagnosed to be from a mixture of idolatry, rebellion, and lack of faith. And it needs to be addressed in the body today. We are living in the end times, a time where trusting and believing in our Messiah, Yeshua, will bring persecution, a time where not complying with world directives will leave many without access to this world system. If you're going to live as a believer, you're going to have to walk in trust of our Father and learn to yield to His will over your life, more than your own will. You will need to trust Him, even if what He's telling you to do may seem completely opposite of what you were thinking or planning. This trust is something that can be hard to do initially without proper understanding and a decision to let go of the control. We need to discuss it. We need to understand how Father looks at it, so we are going to go back in His Word and let Him show us. Let's begin. Okay, so in explaining this, I don't think there is a better way of displaying than reviewing Israel when Yah pulled them from the hands of Egypt. This small nation were slaves in a world empire that appeared to be all-powerful and untouchable. But through His servant Moses, Yah led His people out of slavery and was leading them into a promise He always had for them. He came and showed His power to them. He continuously showed that He was the Most High, and there was none higher. He showed that He loved them and was there to honor a covenant He made with their forefathers. He told them that He was leading them to a land of milk and honey, a promised land, a land flowing with blessings and prosperity. But how did Israel react? Let's review. Now when the people complained, it displeased Yahuwah, for Yahuwah heard it, and His anger was aroused. So the fire of Yahuwah burned among them, and consumed some in the outskirts of the camp. Then the people cried out to Moses, and when Moses prayed to Yahuwah, the fire was quenched. So he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of Yahuwah was burned among them. Now the mixed multitude who were among them yielded to intense craving. So the children of Israel also wept again and said, "Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our whole being is being dried up. There is nothing at all except this manna before our eyes." Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its color like the color of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it, ground it on millstones or beat it in the mortar, cooked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And its taste was like the taste of pastry prepared with oil. And when the dew fell on the camp in the night, the manna fell on it. Then Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, everyone at the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahuwah was greatly aroused. Moses also was displeased. So Moses said to Yahuwah, "Why have you afflicted your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight, that you have laid the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I beget them, that you should say to me, 'Carry them in your bosom, as a guardian carries a nursing child, to the land which you swore to their fathers?' Where am I to get meat to give all these people? For they weep all over me, saying, 'Give us meat, that we may eat.' I am not able to bear all these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. If you treat me like this, please kill me here and now. If I have found favor in your sight, do not let me see my wretchedness." So Yahuwah said to Moses, "Gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tabernacle of meeting, that they may stand there with you. Then I will come down and talk with you there. I will take of the spirit that is upon you and put the same upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you may not bear it yourself alone. Then you shall say to the people, 'Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of Yahuwah, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore Yahuwah will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat, not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have despised Yahuwah who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we ever come up out of Egypt?' And Moses said, The people whom I am among are 600,000 men on foot. Yet you have said, I will give them meat, that they may eat for a whole month. Shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, to provide enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, to provide enough for them?" And Yahuwah said to Moses, "Has Yahuwah's arms been shortened? Now you shall see whether what I say will happen to you or not." So Moses went out and told the people the words of Yahuwah, and he gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tabernacle. Then Yahuwah came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took the spirit that was upon him and placed the same upon the 70 elders. And it happened, when the spirit rested upon them, that they prophesied, although they never did so again. But 2 men had remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad, and the name of the other was Medad. And the spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those listed, but who had not gone out to the tabernacle, yet they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. So Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, one of his choice men, answered and said, Moses, my Adonai, forbid them. Then Moses said to him, Are you zealous for my sake? Oh, that all Yahuwah's people were prophets, and that Yahuwah would put his spirit upon them. And Moses returned to the camp, he and the elders of Israel. Now a wind went out from Yahuwah, and it brought quail from the sea, and left them fluttering near the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and about a day's journey on the other side, all around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the surface of the ground. And the people stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. He who gathered least gathered 10 homers. And they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the wrath of Yahuwah was aroused against the people, and Yahuwah struck the people with a very great plague. So he called the name of that place Kibroth Hatavah, because they buried the people who had yielded to the craving. From Kibroth Hatavah, the people moved to Hazeroth and camped at Hazeroth. That's Numbers chapter 11, verses 1 through 35. You see, the Israelites just complained and complained. If you have read this, you know that this was not their first complaint. They were slaves in Egypt and were being led to a promise. Father was raining down sweet bread from heaven for them, but they were getting sick of it and wanted meat. They would not follow in gladness to their Elohim, who was performing supernatural act after supernatural act. He was consistently showing them who he was to them, and they were consistently complaining, being ungrateful, even looking back at things Egypt provided for them while they were slaves. But let's keep reading. We'll go to Numbers chapter 13. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them." So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran, according to the command of Yahuwah, all of them men who were heads of the children of Israel. Then Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them, "Go up this way into the south, and go up to the mountains, and see what the land is like, whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, few or many, whether the land they dwell in is good or bad, whether the cities they inhabit are like camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are forests there or not. Be of good courage, and bring some of the fruit of the land." Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near the entrance of Hamath. And they went up through the south and came to Hebron, Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai. The descendants of Anak were there. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Then they came to the valley of Eshcol, and there cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. They carried it between two of them on a pole. They also brought some of the pomegranates and figs. The place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran, at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him and said, "We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan." Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land, which they had spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so we were in their sight." That's Numbers chapter 13, verses 1 through 3, and verses 17 through 33. Let's keep reading to chapter 14. So all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, "If only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why has Yahuwah brought us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt?" So they said to one another, "Let us select a leader and return to Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. But Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes, and they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, The land we pass through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If Yahuwah delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against Yahuwah, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and Yahuwah is with us. Do not fear them. And all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Now the glory of Yahuwah appeared in the tabernacle of meeting before all the children of Israel. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me, with all the signs which I have performed amongst them? I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. And Moses said to Yahuwah, then the Egyptians will hear it, for by your might you brought these people up from among men, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, Yahuwah, are among these people, that you, Yahuwah, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands above them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now if you kill these people as one, then the nations which have heard of your fame will speak, saying, because Yahuwah was not able to bring this people to the land which he swore to give them, therefore he killed them in the wilderness. And now I pray, let the power of my Yahuwah be great, just as you have spoken, saying Yahuwah is long-suffering and abundant in mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression. But he by no means clears the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. Pardon the iniquity of this people, I pray, according to the greatness of your mercy, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. Then Yahuwah said, I have pardoned, according to your word. But truly, as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahuwah. Because all these men who have seen my glory, and the signs which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not heeded my voice, they certainly shall not see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who rejected me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him, and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it. That's Numbers chapter 14, verses 1 through 24. Yeah, and those men did not see the promised land. There's so much to touch on in this that I know it will not be possible in this one video to cover it all. But the point should be easy enough to see here. Israel was not following Yah. They were following him up to a point where things were comfortable for them. When things got too uncomfortable, they began to rebel. They were scared in fear, even though their Elohim removed them out of slavery of a world empire like Egypt. They were scared to go against another nation that they felt was stronger than them. That's because they were focused on themselves and not focused on Father and his power. They were so scared that they wanted to even go back into that past bondage of slavery in Egypt, or just plain die. None of it was about resting and trusting in him. It was all about looking at themselves and about their own power. They would not move as he was asking of them and requiring of them because they refused to trust in him. They knew he was God, but they wouldn't commit to what that actually meant. They knew he had promises for them, but they could not get out of their own way. They put their own will in front of his. They would not walk in the power and trust that he required of them. They consistently complained and were rebellious, having a complete generation miss the blessings he had for them. This is an example that we all need to identify with today and make sure we are not following. We cannot be like them, and we know this for sure because as we have read, our Father hated it. He does not like our lack of faith in him or our lack of trust in him. He does not like us placing limits on him, shortening his arms and reach, proclaiming what he can or cannot do. But today, that is precisely what many of us are doing. We are placing limits and conditions on him, praying and asking him to bless us just as long as it is done in the most comfortable way and the easiest for us to handle. This is behavior that needs to be put in check and done away with. Following his will for your life requires obedience to his direction and movement. It requires that you submit to his leading, even if it means moving you out of your comfort zone. You cannot put your own limitations on him. You can't say that he won't do this or can't do this, so you're not going to even consider it or follow. You have to trust him and let him guide you, even if the path seems difficult, or even opposite of what you were thinking or what you would do, or what others you know might do. I'm sure Israel would have loved to be freed from slavery, and after crossing the Red Sea, they walked right into their blessing. But that wasn't the case. They went through the desert, the wilderness, and it was a tough road. No food or water directly on their path. We can look at it and look on a map and then understand exactly what happened to them and see that they were walking into blessings. But they went through the desert, the wilderness, and it was a tough road. No food or water directly on their path, but he provided. Stronger, bigger, more protected enemies in their lands, but he provided. It's because their blessings were not about their will or anything that they were doing personally. It was all about him and his power. Their main job was to get out of the way and just trust him. And they didn't do a good job at this at all. We have this example to assist us in our walk today, because our roads are even more challenging. Back then, he was guiding them collectively as a group, blessing them collectively, speaking to them as a group. Everyone was going to the same destination on the same path. For us, it is not this way. We are scattered all around the world, and though we are reaching the same destination, all of our paths to get there are different. And though he does have messages for us as a group, he also has instructions for us individually that we receive personally through his Spirit. So it is extremely important for us to learn to yield to him and put our trust in him and let go of our own will. Don't put your conditions on him. Don't say he doesn't want you to do this or that because of work or school. Sometimes your job or your education are barriers for him that stops him from reaching you. If you place that above him, then you have placed a condition on him. He should be your source, not your job or your education. So if you're placing your life in your job's hands, then you're not letting him lead. Now, does that mean quit your job? Absolutely not. Let me repeat that. I am not telling you to quit your job or quit school. I do not know you individually, and I am not Yah. All I am saying is that we have tendencies of putting these things before him that does not allow us to move in the fullness in his power that we should. Like, we'll know something is wrong for us, but because we got a good job and are secure, we'll tell ourselves that moving into insecure times doesn't make sense, even though we feel a strong tugging on our heart from Father to do just that. What happens in many of these scenarios are people are not walking fully in the fullness and purpose Father has for them, and you are missing your blessing and what Father has purpose for you. I have learned to not limit Father and not to attach myself to positions or possessions that I cannot walk away from if I ever have to. Satan has purposely created a world system that has us bogged down in idols that compete for the role of importance in our life. We can be so worried about losing our worldly possessions that we do not allow Father to properly work in our lives during these perilous times. If you're scared to move because of fear of what you might be losing or fear of what could happen to you, then how is it that you're allowing Father to work? He works in the miracle business. But if you're holding on to so much control, ask yourself, do you honestly think that you're giving him enough room to work? It is a severe mistake to place your conditions on him and wait for him to work in the boundaries that you have set for him. He does not work in this way, and this is a way of quenching the power of the Holy Spirit. You are restricting him instead of giving him the reins and following him. You must understand that during these times, he will not work for you through your conditions. If you want him there with you and to protect you and to get you through, it comes with letting go of the control and letting go of your conditions. It comes with serving him and trusting him with a sincere heart that does not complain through all of it, saying things like, this isn't right, that isn't right, this doesn't feel good, this makes me uncomfortable, I'm getting overwhelmed, I work better like this, I could trust him more if he did it in this way, I will follow him better if he would just give me this one thing. There are so many statements that are made like this today, and they are completely wrong and will lead to destruction. If you are a follower of his, that requires actually following. If he is providing a way for you, take it, even if the road seems rocky. You must learn to trust him with your life and trust that he will guide you. You must understand, in a time where the whole world will be coming against you because of who you serve, if you think that you'll be able to navigate through it just with your own mind, thoughts, and your own cleverness, you're deceiving yourself. This is about him, and therefore we must be vessels for him to use as he chooses. It's not about your will. It's not about your goals, your plans. And that is the problem that most people have today that don't allow themselves to walk in his power. People keep telling Father what they want to do instead of waiting for Father to tell them what he wants them to do. You must remember, the early church did not show Yah's power by doing things by their own might. By their own might, meaning crafting revolutions or just moving by their own accord. This was not the case. In fact, it was the people of Judah at the time that did that. They were crafting revolts of Roman rule, and they wound up expelled out of their own land, never to return to this day, because they were doing it without the power of Yah, but their own power. But the church, the assembly of Yah, was led by his spirit and endured through persecution, letting Father give them the guidance and strength to do what was necessary to show his power. And because of them is why the faith has survived till this day. It has nothing to do with our own might or our own goals. It's not about being martyrs either. It's about submitting to his will and allowing him to lead. Taking your personal selves out of it and allowing him to lead your life in the direction that he needs in order for your mission of why he created you to be fulfilled. We all have special purposes and reasons why he created us. It's not for the goals Satan has implanted in you since you were born. Grow up, get an education, and serve his system to make the most money possible. No, that is not what life is about. That is what Satan made life about. And that is why those that follow that path and even reach the heights of success that seem remarkable, those same people are often unfulfilled and suffer from depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, and suicide. It's because that's not what they were created for. We were created to serve him, and he is seeking followers to worship him in spirit and truth and follow him. There needs to be a mindset shift within the body that removes the importance of themselves and replaces it with the importance of Father's will as the priority. If we are living to be received into his kingdom, how can we do this serving ourselves, trying to create our own kingdoms? If you're going to follow him, make sure you are not doing it in the same manner as Israel did in the desert, complaining about the path he put you on, not believing in his power to deliver you and fulfill his promises, taking matters in your own hand without him. Don't be this way. You will not be blessed. Let me repeat that. You will not be blessed. As a believer indwelled with his spirit, you have him inside of you, ready to lead if you give him control. You have no idea what he may have in store for you. You may not even realize that the conditions that you have set on him has severely limited what he intended for you. And let me say this. I can't really go over it in detail because this video is getting long enough, and to fully go into this topic would double its time. But throughout this video, you have heard me speaking about being led by him. And this is very hard to do without working at your relationship with him. In the beginning, as a believer, it can be hard because for so long you have had Satan's voice working with a lot of prominence in your mind. He has had such access to your mind and your thoughts that it's going to take some time to clearly understand Father's voice versus Satan's. This understanding of his voice becomes clearer as you read your Bibles and practice daily obedience and application to it. As you begin dialogue through prayer with him. As you begin to fast and remove idols and close doorways you opened knowingly or unknowingly. It's like any type of diet or getting healthy. You have to remove the bad things you were digesting and start replacing it with the cleaner, more righteous things. As you do this, you will begin to grow your relationship with him, and you will start to be able to hear his voice and direction more clearly. Don't just do things because you see other people do those same things. Do things and make moves because this is how he is leading you. There is a lot of noise and confusion going on in this world. Our faith is not about being followers of men, but being followers of Yah. being led by his spirit. What Father may want me to do may be different than what he wants you to do. But understand, no matter what it is, it will never go against his word. He will not lead you to be disobedient to his word. So if you are wondering if it is him and his voice guiding you, talking to you, line it up to the word. Know that Satan, the accuser, will always come to speak to you about being disobedient to Yah. It will often twist Father's ways and his statutes. This is why you must focus strictly on hearing and abiding in Father and his will for your life. And you must know the word. Do not get bogged down in life so much that you are not allowing Father to lead you. Listen to what Yeshua said. But take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with carousing, drunkenness, and cares of this life, and that day come on you unexpectedly. For it will come as a snare on all those who dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch therefore, and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. That's Luke chapter 21, verses 34 through 36. Listen, please take that advice. We are coming to the crunch time, and the only way you will find your peace and direction is through submission to Yah. You must submit to his will. You must obey his voice and his commands. You must do his will and leave yours behind. This is not about you. It's about him. The only way you get through these times are through him. So give it all to him and let him lead you. Do it with peace. Do it with joy. Do it with trust. Let him lead your life, and you will be led to all his promises that await you. Brothers and sisters, let go of your cares, your worries, your control, your conditions, and your terms. Give yourself to our Father and let him lead you into his kingdom. Give it all to him. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like this and share it with others. If you have not done so already, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Elohim willing, I upload every Friday. Please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. As always, I really would like to thank all those who support this ministry. You know who you are. Your contributions have been an extreme blessing to this ministry, and I'm very thankful for you. Thank you for being a blessing. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. I love you all.